did against the Phillies, you got to like their chances.
All right, lefty Wandy Rodriguez for the Astros, right-hander Carlos Silva for the Cubs. We'll have Cubs baseball coming up from beautiful Wrigley Field next.
Style points, all style points. Y'all know what pimping is, right? That's what I want to see. Okay? All right, sometimes you got to show off. But, you still have to catch the ball. All right?
As we check out our AT&T U-verse replay, Marlon Byrd and Randy Wells. And some of the Cubs coaches hosting a special clinic organized by the Cubs and Steiner Sports for 50 kids from local boys and girls clubs, and they're in attendance for the game tonight as well. Nice attempt. Find out more of what's possible at att.com. AT&T, rethink possible.
Baby, well done.
The All-Star Marlon Byrd will take the field with the rest of his Cub teammates. They won 3 of 4 against the Phillies. And they now take on a Houston team that is behind them in the standings, but has beaten the Cubs 4 out of 6 on the year. All-Star Michael Bourne will lead it off. Angel Sanchez, our first look at the young shortstop acquired from Boston earlier this year. Berkman, Pence, Carlos Lee in left. Jeff Keppinger's been their MVP so far. Chris Johnson is at third. Jason Castro, their top prospect, catching for Wandy Rodriguez.
And let's check out how the Cubs take the field tonight behind Carlos Silva. Brought to you by Pepsi. Every Pepsi refreshes the world. Soriano, Byrd, and Colvin across the outfield tonight. Ramirez, Castro, Jeff Baker getting a nod at second base. Derek Lee over at first. Giovanni Soto will be doing the catching for right-hander Carlos Silva. Coming off by far his worst outing of the year. Last time out against the Dodgers in L.A. Went only an inning in the third. Gave up 6 runs on 6 hits and also walked 3 batters. That's probably the most surprising thing about his outing against the Dodgers was the 3 base on balls.
Chicago native Tony Randazzo will call the balls and strikes. Brian Gorman, the crew chief, at first. Paul Nart at second. Dan Bellino at third. And 8 days ago, just 40 pitches and got ejected after arguing a close play at first against the Dodgers. But it's a new half, and I don't think that marred what was, Bob, one of the best halves of his career. 9 wins.
Arguably the most consistent Cubs starter start to start. Good stuff. Kept it down in the zone, threw a lot of strikes. So we'll just ignore his last outing against the Dodgers.
Here comes the 1-0 to Michael Bourne, who lays down a bunt, and they're going to let it roll, and it goes foul.
Local knowledge there. You have to know your own field. Ramos Ramirez takes ground balls every day before the ball game and watches the pitchers as they take their bunting practice, and he knows that those balls that are rolling between the foul line and the infield grass are likely to go into foul territory. So he wisely lets it go. Probably wasn't going to have a play on the speedy Michael Bourne, and as it is, it just goes as a foul strike.
Cornerman still in. The 1-1 to Bourne is low. 2-1. Welcome back, partner. I know you had an extended break. Got a chance to watch your son Michael extend a hitting streak that keeps growing.
Yeah, I didn't mess it up. I was a little worried going down to Florida to watch him play for a week. I would bring some bad luck, but he had a hit every game I saw and had to hit his first at bat tonight to extend his streak to 18 games.
That's smacked into center as a second base umpire Paul Nart had to get out of the way. And Michael Bourne is a huge threat to steal, especially for a team that is near the bottom of the league in runs. And let's look in on that Cubs minor league report. Brad Snyder with a 14-gamer. Robinson Chirinos catcher homering in his third straight game, and Michael Brenly now with an 18-game hitting streak. Shortstop Angel Sanchez batting with one on and nobody out. Jeff Blum, Tommy Manzella, both guys who play short for the Astros, are on the disabled list. Houston held yesterday to just 3 hits. Sanchez had 2 of the 3 off Paul Maholm, who went the distance in a shutout. And their rough first half offensively cost Sean Barry his job. Jeff Bagwell, one of the best players in Astros history, is their new hitting coach. Had been a special assistant to the GM and a part-time broadcaster. So he's back in the Houston dugout, this time as a coach.
2 words for you, Baggy. Good luck. Astros come in ranked dead last in batting average in the National League. You know, man, I think you can draw some parallels between the Cubs and the Astros as far as the offense goes. You know, you look at a lineup with Lance Berkman and Hunter Pence and Carlos Lee in the middle of the lineup, and they're built to slug. They have a ballpark that's made for right-handed pull hitters. And they just haven't gotten it done.
No, they're getting it done here in the first inning against Carlos Silva. Back-to-back singles to start the game. And now the Chrysler game forecast. It's 80, but it feels pretty cool comparatively speaking. It was a very hot weekend here at the ballpark. Wind blowing out not very hard at 2 miles an hour. It's brought to you by Chrysler. For more info on our vehicle lineup, log on to Chrysler.com or stop by your Chicagoland or Northwest Indiana Chrysler dealer today. Switch hitting Lance Berkman takes a strike on the inside corner. Great quote in the Houston Chronicle. Lance Berkman said, "You definitely don't want to disappoint Baggy. He's kind of like your dad. You don't want to do anything to disappoint him." Talking about his former teammate. 0-2.
Well, if you're not familiar with Jeff Bagwell, he manned the right side of the infield along with Craig Biggio for years down there in Houston. 2 of the killer bees. And Bagwell was one of those guys. Played the game hard every day. Played hurt. Played just about every game every season. And the expectations will be high for his hitters.
Franchise leader in homers, RBIs, and walks. The 1-2 to Berkman is inside. 2-2.
Good combination of pitches there from Silva. A couple of sinkers off the plate inside that tailed back to the corner and then came right back with a slider in the same location that moved down and in. Berkman able to lay off.
missed again. It's full 3-2. So after an 0-2 start, he has run a full count. With one out, you might send the runners. With nobody out, I don't think Brad Mills is going to be overly aggressive here in the first. We'll see. They are not running, and the bases are loaded, and Silva a little rattled. Giovanni Soto's got to go out and calm him down.
Well, as you mentioned, Len, Silva was ejected from his last start in L.A., and no umpire likes to see that kind of reaction from a pitcher on a borderline pitch. He tried to go back to that off-the-body sinker to the inside corner. It appeared to me it was inside, but Silva threw his hands up in the air, looked toward home plate. You cannot be doing that, especially in the first inning of a ball game.
So he faces Hunter Pence with the bases loaded and nobody out. Pence had a season-high 8-game hitting streak. It was snapped yesterday, but he starts another one here. They get one little double clutch by Soriano, and Silva will cut it off. A 2-run single for Hunter Pence. And before the first out is recorded, it's 2-0 Houston.
Well, Silva has really lost his focus out there. That ball 4 called to Lance Berkman. You see Pence goes down and digs out a sinker, lines it into left field for a base hit. We know Soriano's got a great throwing arm, very accurate, but just couldn't find the handle on the baseball. And who cuts it off? The pitcher Carlos Silva, who's supposed to be backing up home plate on that particular play.
They appealed at third. I think they thought Sanchez missed the bag on his way around, but he did not, and Larry Rothschild is out to the mound.
And I think this is a good meeting right now, Len. You've got to get Carlos back into the ball game right here. He let that one bad call upset him on the mound. He didn't back up home plate on the next play. And even when things don't go your way, you have to continue to play the game and do the things you're supposed to do.
By the way, just a side note, as we saw Larry go out, a couple of times in that Phillies series, Larry came out to make pitching changes. And I think the reason is very intriguing. Lou says we have a lot of young relievers. So on occasion, he likes Larry to talk to the pitcher who's coming into the game to possibly avoid an extra trip to the mound during the inning. So if you see that coming up, that's why. I like it.
I don't mind it a bit.
Carlos Lee bounces foul, 0-2. He's hitting 5th.
I mean, part of Lester Strode's job as the bullpen coach is to prepare that pitcher when he comes into the ball game, appraise him as to who the next hitter is, what the situation is, but certainly would carry a lot more weight when you hear it as you're standing on that game mound looking at the guy in the batter's box and hear from your pitching coach exactly what it is he expects you to do in that situation.
Deep breath by Silva. First 4 Astros have reached 3 singles and a walk. Carlos Lee coming in at just 235, but we know he can do a lot of damage against the Cubs.
Boy, especially if you let that ball stray out over the heart of the plate and up a little bit. And get those big arms extended. He loves to pull that ball to left field.
The kick and the 2-2. It's outside and a 3-2 count. When Carlos is right, we talk about it a lot. He hits the target every time, but he's not done that here in this inning. And a fair ball past it, diving Aramis Ramirez. Here comes Berkman. Right behind him, Hunter Pence, and they get 2 more. It's 4-0. I'll tell you, we'll probably see somebody get up in the bullpen this early, because right now Carlos Silva doesn't have it.
That's that sinker that started on the outside corner, ended up right in the middle of the plate. Just a hard ground ball, unfortunately, in a good spot for Carlos Lee, as Ramirez could not get there with the dive. Took a little bit of an odd carom off the sidewall, and Soriano has no play on Hunter Pence.
Bullpen quiet at the moment, and Silva tries to get that first out. Fastball in there against Jeff Keppinger, who again has been the Astros' best position player throughout the season, having the best year of his career. And he's going to move up the runner to third, and a close play, safe. Castro was back on his heels, and we've seen that a little bit lately here from Castro, relying on his arm. He may be waiting just a little bit too long, and that time it cost him an infield hit.
I got caught backpedaling a little bit on that last big hop that came out there to him at shortstop. You'll see him back up a half a step, take his sweet time to get rid of it, and Keppinger was busting it down that line and earns an infield single right there. I don't care how good your arm is. If you're backing up when you field the baseball, you're not going to get as much on the throw as you could if you're coming in with your momentum going toward your target.
Boy, Bob, I don't have to tell you how, with a pitcher struggling like this, your defense has to be even better. Because Carlos Silva's struggling to get an out, and that would have been a routine one. Should have been routine. Let's see if they can turn two here. They do, as the Astros get an extra run. No RBI for Chris Johnson, but it is 5-0.
Taylor made double play ball, hard hit ball to Castro at short. Baker turns it easily at second base. Unfortunately, Carlos Lee trots home from third base with the 5th run of the game already here in the top half of the first.
So for the first time since Michael Bourne led off, nobody on, and it's rookie catcher Jason Castro taking ball one. Boy, look at that. In his last start, he struggled early. Gave up 3 in the first inning. Castro, the Astros' #1 pick in 2008, and their #1 prospect, according to Baseball America, each of the last 2 years.
Obviously still feeling his way around the major leagues, but has done a nice job throwing out base runners so far. 6 out of 11 have been caught by Jason Castro.
Couldn't get the change up. 2-2. The pitcher Wandy Rodriguez is on deck here in the first inning. Pulled foul, and Castro cracked his bat. So the Cubs behind the 8 ball right off the bat tonight. They need some sweet music offensively tonight. The Ted Butterman Band out in the bleachers tonight, entertaining the crowd in the Bud Light bleachers. This will get down. Colvin will play it on the hop, and the Astros will bat around as Wandy Rodriguez will come up.
And you can't take Rodriguez for granted either. Most of the time when you get to that 9 spot in the lineup and the opposing pitcher makes his way into that batter's box, you count that as an out and move along. But Wandy Rodriguez, a .250 hitter this season. He's driven in a couple runs.
And I like to call Wandy a part-time switch hitter. Never quite sure which side of the plate he feels most comfortable in. He is switch hitting at the moment. And a roller into right, base hit. Crowd getting restless now as Silva struggling to get that third out, and he'll have to face Michael Bourne again. Mitch Atkins is going to warm up.
And you may be wondering why no activity before now. You'd like to think that Carlos Silva, when he got down to the bottom of the order, might be able to find a way to get that last out of the inning after the double play and get his team back into the dugout and hopefully continue on in this ball game. But now that you roll around to the top of the order again, even with 2 outs in the inning, you've got to get somebody throwing.
Is this inning just about location, Bob?
Well,
or do you think it was that one pitch that got him?
I think what it is the Astros are not allowing him to establish anything. They're jumping on that first fastball they see in the strike zone, and we know that Silva has been basically a sinker changeup pitcher this year, but they haven't allowed him to get to that changeup. They've been attacking the first sinker they see in the strike zone.
Well, the hitting coach, I'm sure, is thrilled, especially after the Astros got shut out in Pittsburgh yesterday. Bagwell officially took over coming out of the break, and they scored 11 runs in the first 2 games in Pittsburgh before being shut out yesterday. They've scored 5 here in the first tonight, and Michael Bourne hanging in there. Cubs were feeling pretty good after what they did to Roy Halladay last night. Tom Gorzolani got his 3rd consecutive win. A nice series victory, and they really could have swept the Phillies if not for the rough 9th inning on Saturday. 3-2, and more frustration from Silva. Tom Gorzolani's been really good since returning to the rotation.
Yeah, part of the problem is Silva thinks this is a strike. That ball never gets back to the corner. It's a good 2 baseballs off the inside corner, and he wanted that pitch.
Runners go on the 3-2, ball 4 to load them up. We talked about this before, Bob. Of all the tough decisions involving pitching changes, this, I think, is one of the toughest for a manager, isn't it? The idea of, can my starter get it back, or do I have to get him in the first inning, which is not a fun choice.
Well, not a fun choice for a number of reasons. Most important being that you have to get into that bullpen in the first inning of a ball game and hope to get 9 innings out of those guys, or 8 1/3 in this case. And what is that going to do to the rest of this series and moving forward in the season? But boy, this has been a rough first inning for Carlos Silva. We haven't seen this from him all season.
Seven hits and 2 walks. And a liner is dropped by Castro. Throw's going to go to first. Derek is able to put his foot on the base to finally get out of the inning. They got 5, and they could have had more. The Cubs are coming up. Colvin and Castro, 1-2 for the second straight game. Lee, Ramirez, Bird, Soriano, they've all had good stretches here lately. So has Giovanni Soto. Jeff Baker, a rare start, his first since July 1st, and Carlos Silva barely able to get out of the top of the first.
Take a look at the Astros defensively. El Caballo, Carlos Lee in left, Michael Bourne, their lone all-star in center field, Hunter Pence over in right, Johnson, Sanchez, Keppinger, and Berkman across the infield. The 23-year-old Jason Castro out of Stanford University doing the catching tonight for left-hander Wandy Rodriguez. Rodriguez, a fastball, curveball, changeup pitcher. He'll change speeds on his curveball. You'll see some real slow ones rolling up there in the high 60s. He'll throw a harder one that looks more like a slider.
Been a tough year for Wandy, and he's always been better at Minute Maid Park than he has been on the road. When his curve is right, it is one of the best pitches by anybody in the majors. But this year's been a little different. 11 losses, tied for the major league lead, along with his teammate Roy Oswalt. Been a lot better lately, an ERA under 2 over his last 4 starts. Fouled back by Tyler Colvin. 0-2 the count. Cubs have seen him a lot over the years. This is already his 15th career start against the Cubs. There's that curveball to get Colvin. We are email accessible, and Bob hasn't checked his email in about 8 or 9 days, so send them his way. LennonBob@Tribune.com. We are up on Twitter.com/LennonBob as well.
Yeah, they don't have that internet yet in Florida. Way down there, you know, like the boot sticking out into the ocean. They
Right.
can't get internet there.
Well, Lou has been talking about this sort of lineup for a while and decided to do it last night, interestingly enough, against Cy Young contender Roy Halladay, and man, did it work out. Colvin had 3 hits. So did Castro, and the Cubs scored 11 runs.
Anytime you plug a couple of youngsters into the top of your batting order, the word you'll hear is energy. You like to see those guys at the top of the order that are still very excited. They haven't had time to be jaded by the Major League Baseball experience, and both Colvin and Castro run extremely well, so it gives the Cubs probably the best speed they have at the top of the batting order.
Well, we saw a couple of suicide squeezes. One ended up being a steal of home. The other one by Ryan Theriot, the go-ahead RBI on Saturday. Unfortunately, the Cubs lost it late, but it's the kind of baseball Lou has wanted to play for a while, and now is able to do it more often. Readjustment of the batting gloves before a 1-2 pitch. And here it is. It's low. It was a high temperature each day down in Florida.
It was in the 90s every day I was there. Humidity was extremely high. If you thought real hard, you'd break a sweat.
That's what it was like this weekend here. Surrounded by Sanchez, who throws to Berkman. I don't think any one day in Florida feels that bad, but when you think about 6 straight months of 92 degrees with 95% humidity, it gets a little old after a while.
You know, I hate to feel sorry for the young players down there in the Florida State League, because you know, we all went through it at some point in our minor league careers, but you know, those guys are on the field at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, going through basically a mini spring training every day, working on some fundamental of the game. They go shower up, put on a dry uni, and then come back out and play a ball game later that evening. It makes for a long day, sweating off a lot of pounds. But like I said, every player on that field right now has been through it.
It's been a good matchup for D. Lee. 14 for 32. How about this, though? Alfonso Soriano, 1 for 20.
I saw that number and thought maybe Fonzie would have a night off tonight, but I guess Lou figures he's due.
A pop up by Lee. Looks like Berkman's going to have room. Now back toward the field of play. It ended up fair as he made the catch. And the Cubs go down quietly, trailing early 5-0. Savage from Algonquin getting an autographed baseball from Marlon Byrd. For more info on how you can be a Walgreens celebrity bat kid, go to WGNradio.com. Walgreens, the pharmacy of the Chicago Cubs. Carlos Silva out after 1 inning. He faced 11 batters, gave up 7 hits, 5 runs, walked 2 in his second consecutive very short start. Right-hander Mitch Atkins is in. No word from the Cubs whether any sort of injury was involved or it was just not his night, and Lou decided to make a change before sending Silva back out for the second. But that's 2 1/3 innings over his last 2 starts combined. And it glances off the glove of Jeff Baker, and Berkman has a base hit. Number 8 already for the Astros.
And before we get much deeper into this top half of the second, Len, obviously not the way the Cubs wanted to go down in the bottom of the first. When your starting pitcher gets whacked around the way Silva did in the top of the first, you'd like to see your offense come back in, make something happen, at least put some pressure on the Astros and Wandy Rodriguez and let them know that you're still in the ballgame. A very quiet 1-2-3 bottom of the first.
Well, his son right now is an issue for Derek Lee as he holds up his glove. I don't think Mitch Atkins is going to throw over there with the game score what it is, and Berkman with a short lead.
Berkman only 4 stolen base attempts this season. He's been successful 3 times. There have been years in the past when healthy that he was a stolen base threat. You really had to keep an eye on him over there, throw over to keep him close. With a 5-0 lead here in the second inning, doubtful that he's going to be going anywhere.
Just 2 years ago, 18 out of 22. kick and the pitch. Too low, 3-1. Atkins, a 7th rounder back in 2004 from Browns Summit, North Carolina. 24 years old. That's a strike, 3-2. Called up on July 7th for his 2nd stint. First time in mid-June, up here just for a handful of days, and did not make an appearance. Made 2 appearances in that Dodgers series. Swing and a miss, strike 3, throw to second. Right on the bag by Soto for a double play.
Well, good to see Giovanni Soto unleash a good throw right on the bag. He's had some issues with his throws to second base, tailing back to the second base side of the bag. But this time really gets on top of the ball, throws it right on the base. All Jeff Baker has to do is catch it for the out at second base.
Strike 1 on Carlos Lee. 2-run double. Inside the bag at third. In the first as he pops it up, and Atkins is going to give way. Derek Lee makes a catch. Inning over. Leadoff single, no runs. 5-0 Houston after an inning and a half. Ramirez ducks it into right for a base hit. We'll enjoy some more delight, don't we?
Actually, it's D.
Sorry, D-light.
Yeah, groove is in the heart. Wash out. It's Budweiser. It's what we do.
Ron Santos' iPod gave us that track. So leadoff man on, Marlon Byrd. Takes it inside and got hit 4 times in the Phillies series. Unbelievable. He has been hit 16 times this season. Most by a Cub since 1905. Frank Chance hit by 17 pitches, 5 to 4 to 3, a double play. He's got a good chance to set the all-time Cubs record. Bill Dahlen in 1898 hit 23 times.
Part of it is because where he stands in that right-handed batter's box, he's very close to the inside corner of the plate, but more importantly, he's not afraid to get hit. He refuses to give to pitchers that try to pound him on that inside part of the plate or further in. Well, then I haven't had a chance to talk to you since the All-Star game, and I was watching the game with my son Michael, and on the base hit to the outfield when Marlin was streaking around, we both looked at each other and thought the same thing. Ray Fosse, Pete Rose. But Marlin able to get in with a slide.
Fortunately, that did not happen as Bourne makes the catch. Wandy Rodriguez cruising through 2 with a 5-0 lead. They turned him on during Astros batting practice, haven't yet taken effect. 1-0 on Jeff Keppinger. Mitch Atkins in his second inning of relief after Carlos Silva could only go 1. Atkins, the Cubs 2008 minor league pitcher of the year. This is his 7th season in the organization. 6'3", 230. 3 balls, no strikes on Keppinger. Caught the inside corner to make it 3-1. One of the things the Cubs relief corps does to stay in cardiovascular shape as Keppinger walks, they take a little frisbee and come out about 3 o'clock for a night game, and for a good 45 minutes to an hour, Sean Marshall and Andrew Kashner and Justin Bird, James Russell, Mitch Atkins, they'll just play catch with it. They'll span the entire outfield, and I'll tell you, Mitch Atkins is a magician with that thing. Yes.
Well, I've seen other teams do similar things, either with a frisbee, sometimes with a football, just ways to get your running in without making it seem like a chore.
Sean Marshall's kind of the ringleader, but yeah, they're all pretty good. I get a kick out of it when we're in a road ballpark and someone lets it fly and it goes into like the 3rd deck. And that pauses the game for about 15 minutes as they all look at each other like, who's going to go get it?
Who threw it? You have to go get it. Go into Miss McGillicuddy's yard to get the frisbee.
Big swing by Johnson. 1-1 the count on the Astros third baseman.
They'd get their road work in if I was playing Frisbee with them, because I can't throw those things straight. I have a heck of a sinker. Usually you have to pick it up as it's rolling in your direction.
Castro can't get it. Kind of an in-between spot for Starlin. And they'll be at first and third. That should be a hit for Johnson.
Hey fans, don't miss the action as the Cubs battle the Astros this Wednesday right here at Wrigley Field. Game time is 1:20, but be sure to arrive early. The first 10,000 fans will receive a Cubs keychain, compliments of Chevy. You've got to get your own Chevy, but we'll give you the keychain.
So the Astros threatening again. This time at the bottom of the order as number 8 hitter Jason Castro takes strike 1. I mentioned earlier with the sun being an issue, not anymore for Derek Lee, as the 0-1 is on the way. And a deep fly ball to right. Colvin starting to run out of room into the basket. It's a 3-run homer for Jason Castro. And it's 8-0. That's his second career homer. And his first since June 24th.
Once again, the bottom of this Astros order doing some damage, much like they did back in that first inning. Castro with a single, Wandy Rodriguez with a single in the first. This time, Castro with a high fly ball. Not a lot of wind blowing right now, but what wind there is appeared to help that fly.
So now 8-0, and the 0-1 to Rodriguez is fouled back. What I was going to say is, Berkman not a huge threat to steal, and mentioned the game score. I still think it's early enough, Bob, where you don't call off the dogs just yet, even though you have the other team's starting pitcher out of the game. I don't think the Astros are going to run a whole lot now that it's 8-0, but it's way too early, I think, for those unwritten rules to kind of kick in, don't you?
I agree.
Cub fans, make sure you check out our WGN baseball blog on WGNTV.com. Click on the sports link. Look for Len and Bob's baseball blog. I have a new post looking at the Cubs' upcoming battles against this Central Division. We have game notes from stats and much more. Once again, it's WGNTV.com.
I told you what Whitey Herzog thought about calling off the dogs early in the game. He said, if you promise me you'll quit trying to get hits and score runs, we'll stop running.
Yeah, no, I like that. Atkins will throw out Rodriguez. For the first out.
Well, especially a team that has struggled as much as the Astros have this year. I mean, they're going to enjoy the rest of this ball game. I would imagine that a number of their players feel like every at bat they get in the game from this point forward is gravy. Got an 8-0 lead in the game. Now's the time to get greedy and try to pad your stats a little bit.
There's a manager, Brad Mills, in his first year. And along those lines, as an offensive player for the Cubs, three guys haven't even had their first at bat. From your perspective, does that change your approach? Down 8-0 at this point. Soriano will drift and make the catch.
Well, certainly it used to. I mean, back in the day, and I don't know when the day stopped, but when you found yourself behind by a lot of runs early in the game, the general thinking was you need base runners. So everybody took until they got a strike. Some guys until they got 2 strikes. But I think that theory has kind of gone by the wayside. A lot of teams, when they're down by a lot of runs, figure the best chance they have to get back in the game is to swing at that first fastball. And with an 8-0 lead, Wandy Rodriguez is probably going to come right at the Cubs hitters.
One and one to Sanchez. Already getting his 3rd at bat, and again, Soto and Baker haven't even had 1 for the Cubs. 1-2. Well, the happiest guy in the ballpark is right there. This has been by far their best game offensively under new hitting coach Jeff Bagwell. And we go back to our conversation with him when we were in Houston the last time he was broadcasting. He didn't love Wrigley Field. Didn't feel like they're very comfortable hitting in this ballpark. He certainly enjoyed the, shall we say, fine restaurants here in the city.
He may not have liked Wrigley Field, but he loved Wrigleyville.
Still 3-2. Berkman on deck. Sanchez acquired from Boston on July 1st in exchange for catcher Kevin Cash. Colvin underneath. That's the inning. Rookie Jason Castro with a 3-run blast, and it's now 8-zip Houston. Well, a nice evening weather-wise, but a very rough one on the field for the home team. After winning 3 of 4 against the Phillies, they find themselves down 8-0 here in the bottom of the third. And a roller coaster ride for Giovanni Soto the last 2 days. On Saturday, dropped the throw from Tyler Colvin and what would have been the final out to beat the Phillies. But they tied the game as the ball got out of his glove on that tag play. Would add 3 more and win 4-1. And then last night he came back, hit a home run, knocked in 3. That's no fun.
No. Right back with a curveball. That's what you do when somebody knocks you off the plate. Drive one into right field for a base hit. The theory behind that knockdown pitch is to get a guy off of the outside corner, but Rodriguez comes back with a curveball in the outer third of the plate. Soto's all over it with a clean line drive single into right field.
On that pitch that was up and in, obviously, Bob, a batter hears the ball hit the mitt, but does the ball itself make a sound?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you hear it whistle past your ear, especially those guys that can get a lot of rotation on the baseball. With a real good finish, a live wrist at the end of their delivery, and that ball is spinning, and you don't want to, but sometimes you do hear it go past your ear.
Jeff Baker's been a lot better against lefties than righties. He came in late last night, went 2 for 2, including his second hit of the year against a right-hander. All of his home runs have come against lefties. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Rodriguez working quickly. That's off the end of the bat. Foul out of play. Well, Ken Maka got what he wanted. He was not happy that the Braves were throwing at Brewers hitters over the weekend, and Johnny Venters, Braves pitcher, has been issued a 4-game suspension for throwing back-to-back pitches at Prince Fielder, and Bobby Cox also getting a 1-game suspension. You've been talking about this for a long time. With the weather go players' tempers. And we had one in San Diego, I believe, yesterday between the Padres and the Diamondbacks. We had the tempers flaring in Atlanta. So we sit here in mid-July, and people are getting a little ornery.
The hair trigger, yeah. You know, some players maybe aren't having the kind of season they envision for themselves. A lot of teams are not having the kind of seasons that they hope for. And as that weather heats up, so do the tempers.
Pence going after it, and he's not going to catch it. Good read by Giovanni Soto. And Mike Quade not taking any chances with his team trailing by 8. Well, the crowd booing, but this is a no-brainer. You have to be 1,000% sure with nobody out that he can score.
A part of your job as a third base coach is to not only know the outfield arms on the opposing team, but the guys who are going to be responsible for the cutoffs from the outfielders. Pence chases that ball all the way down into the right field corner. Soto coming into third base where he sees that stop sign. Jeff Keppinger was the man who was the cutoff on that ball down in the right field corner, and Keppinger is very strong-armed and very accurate.
Here's a pitcher, Atkins, taking a strike. His second career plate appearance, a strikeout in his first one. I'll even take it further, Bob. You know, the fans wanted to see Gio try to score on that play. The Cubs can't get him in with nobody out here in the third inning. Even with the pitcher at the plate right now, they're not going to win this game. Got to find a way to get him in, and hopefully Baker as well. And Atkins going to ground out, and still a chance to get at least Soto in. Cub fans, if you want to manage the game along with Lou Piniella, log on to WGNTV.com right now and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner to connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and info while you're watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape, pools, patio and play sets, hot tubs, and more. Only guy playing in is the third baseman Johnson. Everybody else will concede that first run. And it'll happen right here as Berkman will take it by himself. Colvin will get an RBI. And it's 8-1. Time now to check out tonight's improvement from Menards. Saw pitchers make adjustments in June, and now Starlin Castro has made adjustments in July. It's been a good month.
Yeah, and Starlin himself has said he just feels a lot more comfortable. You get used to the routine at the major league level, which is considerably different than what the guys go through at the minor league level, and he certainly has looked comfortable this month.
For all your home improvement needs, shop and save big money at Menards. Runner at third, 2 down. Cubs trailing by 7. It is early. We're only in the third. And now 2-0. Cubs will not face the Astros ace Roy Oswalt, who actually got taken out of his start yesterday after 4 innings with a left ankle contusion, but the Astros are confident he will be able to take his next turn on Saturday against Cincinnati. And a pop-up. And Lance Berkman makes the catch to end the inning. The Cubs get 1 on 2 hits. They strand 1 and trail 8-1 after 3. On 8 runs on 10 hits. We often say anything can happen on any given day. Well, the Astros coming into action tonight, 3rd to the bottom in the majors in runs per game, and they have the fewest homers in the majors. Came in with just 59. But they have an 8-1 lead. Gotten a 3-run homer from their number 8 hitter. And Lance Berkman will lead off the 4th. Called strike from Mitch Atkins. And pop fly out. And it's still carrying. Marlon Byrd on the warning track hauls it in.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN TV is sponsored in part by the Illinois Lottery Mega Millions. Tuesday's Mega Millions jackpot is $12 million.
Pence with a 2-run single, scored a run in the 1st. In the 2nd, struck out in what turned into a strike him out, throw him out double play. Bouncing ball right to Aramis Ramirez. Let's check out who's moving forward with Toyota. Most home runs by a visitor here at Wrigley Field. Adam Dunn. This is among active players. Albert Pujols, who hit 3 in one game this season. And Carlos Lee, Toyota and your local Toyota dealers, official partner of the Chicago Cubs. You saw Scott Rowland on that list. Pretty big news. He got a cortisone shot in his right hamstring today, and he might end up on the disabled list, which would be a huge loss for the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, both sides of the ball for the Cincinnati Reds. Scott Rowland with his Gold Glove caliber defense at third, and he has been clutch in the middle of that Reds offensive lineup.
Since they got him from Toronto last year, they are 28 games over 500 with him in the lineup. Out into center, Bird coming in, but he can't get there in time. It's a base hit. That was muscled out there by big Carlos Lee, who had a tough start to the second half. He got benched coming back from his native Panama. Thursday they had what has to be a voluntary workout. According to Major League rules, you can't make it mandatory, but most teams the day before when the second half starts have a workout. He had some flight issues from Panama, so he didn't make it, and his manager sat him the next night. That's foul off the bat of Jeff Keppinger. Fortunately, your private jet was ready to go and landed on time, so you could make it back tonight, and I appreciate that very much.
Well, I wanted to make every effort to be here tonight, and I'm glad I did. Yeah, that kind of speaks to where we're at in this game. He missed his flight because he couldn't find a pilot for his private jet. Okay.
Baker out into shallow right. Makes the catch. Bottom four, 8-1 Houston. Well, that young fan hoping for a great Cubs comeback. Again, it's still relatively early. We're in the fourth inning, but the Cubs trail 8-1. Being out hit 11-3. And a first pitch strike to Derek Lee. Fouled back by Derek. 0-2. Rodriguez with a 1.67 ERA over his last 4 starts against the Cubs, and none of those starts resulting in a decision for him.
And mostly because his team has only scored 1.67 runs for him in those 4 games against the Cubs.
Mentioned his curveball. It can be a devastating pitch when he is pitching well and cruising along early on tonight. Like a changeup. Rodriguez made his major league debut in this ballpark 5 seasons ago, May 23rd of 2005. And we'll never forget who he pitched against, because he made like 10 straight starts against Glendon Rush. I remember 05-06. Every time we faced the Astros, it was Wandy Rodriguez against Glendon Rush.
A similar thing happened against the Reds. It seems like Glendon and Bronson Arroyo hooked up every time we played the Reds there for a while Glendon was here in town.
Another foul. Watch the Cubs take on the Cardinals on Friday, this coming Friday, the 23rd at Wrigley Field. Game time 1:20. Be sure to arrive early. The first 10,000 adults, 21 and older, get a Cubs white T-shirt, compliments of Budweiser. Carlos Lee chasing it down, and it'll get all the way to the wall as Derek Lee has a double.
It goes without saying, Len, trailing by 7 runs in the middle part of the ball game, you've got to take advantage of every runner you get in scoring position to try to slowly crawl back into this game. Derek Lee with a leadoff double to the gap in left center field. See if we can't chase him around there.
There's Aramis having a really nice month of July, and he sorely needed it. Came in at 346 in July, and he's 1 for 1 tonight. Oh, 0-2. Just seems like, for the most part, when pitchers make mistakes against him, he's not missing them. Game-winning home run against the Phillies on a changeup that was belt high from Ryan Madson in the bottom of the 8th inning. Ooh, he got hit on the hand, I think. No, he didn't. He got hit on the knob of the bat, and he tried to sell it, but if he really did get hit in the fingers, I think he would be writhing in pain.
Yeah, I think that was a determining factor for Tony Randazzo. That and what he heard behind home plate. And sometimes when a batter gets hit in the hand, it doesn't sound good. Yeah, that appeared to catch him right on the knob of the bat.
I got my hand too.
Yeah, he may have had some residual contact there with the baseball, but it appeared that the ball did hit the knob of the bat.
I like that. Aramis was being honest. It got my hand too. He was acknowledging it. It may have got part of the bat, but it hit me too. Gets away, and Derek will take third. A wild pitch.
It's a fastball in the dirt. I talk about it all the time. No major league catcher ever anticipates a fastball in the dirt. You'd like to think that a big league pitcher can throw the fastball at least close to his target and keep it out of the dirt. And just about every catcher in the game is caught by surprise when old number one, the fastball, ends up in the dirt.
Still 1-2. Marlon Byrd on deck. Wind is really quieted down. Flags are barely moving. And another 1-2 pitch. It's outside.
You mentioned the fact that Ramirez has not missed as many pitches over the strike zone as he was earlier in the season. Also, he's not swinging at as many pitches out of the strike zone. Rodriguez tried to nibble away at the outside corner there. The ball strayed a few inches off the plate. Ramirez took it for a ball. And I continue to come back to the fact that Ramos Ramirez did not have much of a spring training this year. He missed the last couple weeks of camp down in Arizona, and that is so vitally important for any hitter to get those last 2 weeks of at-bats leading up to the regular season, and just never seemed to be able to get in a groove in the first half of the year.
The Astros battery took too long, so Ramos stepped out. Golfed high in the air. This will get Derek in as Carlos Lee will put it away and will not even make a throw toward the plate. It's 8-2, a sac fly for Ramirez.
Time now to look at our PNC Cubs achiever. Marlon Byrd against left-handed pitching. Ranked second in the National League. Only David Wright of the New York Mets hits for a higher average against lefties this year. And he's also 2 for 4 this season against the Astros starter Wandy Rodriguez. PNC Bank is proud to be an official sponsor of the Chicago Cubs and just as proud to support the fans and community who cheer them on. PNC, for the achiever in us all.
High drive to center. Michael Bourne back. Already on the warning track. He has it right up against the wall. I suppose Wandy Rodriguez was pitching to the conditions. Barely. Man.
Well, that's an inner third of the plate fastball. Marlon Byrd's as quick as anybody on those fastballs from the middle of the plate in, and chases Bourne right back to the ivy. Right near that 400 mark in straightaway center field. If we had the same wind that we had at the beginning of the ball game, that one at least gets up into the basket.
I agree. I think that's about all it would have taken. Soriano flied to center his first time. He tries to figure out Wandy Rodriguez. 1 ball, 1 strike. Alfonso has snuck onto the National League home run leaderboard with 17 on the year.
All it really took was for Tyler Colvin to get in within 1 of Soriano for the team lead, and he's taken off again.
One of 5 players tied for 9th with 17. The league leaders, 4 of them have 22. 3-1. Another one up in the air, fairly well hit. Michael Bourne calling off Pence, and he makes a catch also near the wall. A couple of near misses. They do get one. It's now 8-2. Now time for the 5th inning, brought to you by Subway. Hey, Chicagoland viewers, how would you like to win 5 $5 footlongs from Subway? Just be the 500th texter to text Subway to 97999. Go to WGNTV.com for complete info and rules. Big swing by Chris Johnson. Behave, you're on camera. Give me that.
It's reality TV.
Yeah. Ground ball charged by Castro. I've got it on this date for you, courtesy of the Baseball Reference Bullpen. 1961, July 19th. On this date, Ford Frick, who was a friend of the Babe, announced that if Ruth's home run record should be beaten after 154 games, that record would have a distinctive mark. And when asked about the so-called ruling, Roger Maris said, quote, "A season's a season." Now, Dick Young, a sports writer, suggested an asterisk, and it's later claimed to be Frick's idea, but no such asterisk was ever used in the record books, even though that myth kind of carried on. And I think people still, some baseball fans think there was an asterisk, but I guess there never was when he broke the record. The schedule was 162 games. And when Ruth set the record, it was 154 as Aramis makes a catch in foul ground. And now neither record stands.
Talk about an asterisk. It's a whole nother story.
Now, speaking of that, Bob, most broadcasters, and I did when I started, used to carry around a Sporting News baseball record book. But with the technology the way it is, I don't have one anymore. An actual book that we would have in the booth. And if some guy did something in a game, we could look in the book and say, well, the record for triples in a game is...
Well, I'd let you borrow mine if I had one.
Wandy Rodriguez turns on it. And he's going to stop with a double. So one guy on the team who doesn't really have to go at 100% on an extra base hit. I think he could have had a triple if he wanted to, but he's a starting pitcher, right? Give him a little bit of a leeway. He might be hearing it from his dugout, though. Come on, Wandy. He could have had 3.
And maybe a closer ball game, you might have seen him try to go for 3, but with 2 outs in the inning, common sense would tell you to stay at second base where you're already in scoring position.
The 1-0 to Bourne, misses 2-0. Fouled back. Cardinals spotted the Phillies 3 in the first inning, but have come back and now lead 8-4 in the 7th. Bunch of home runs in that one. 4 of them by the Cardinals. Pujols, Craig, Schumacher, and Wynn. They got 2 in the bottom of the 9th yesterday, and a thrilling 5-4 win to sweep the Dodgers. And they're a half game up on the Reds in the National League Central. At the knees, a strike. I will be curious to hear the fan reaction to Joey Votto next time the Reds come to Wrigley Field. Talking about the fact he doesn't like the Cubs. His National League All-Star teammate Marlon Byrd, he basically, what did he say, wasn't going to congratulate him. I think some of that was for effect.
Oh, it'll have an effect when Joey Votto gets here.
Yes, it will. Inning over, 8-2 Houston.
Or bachelorette parties. Individual and group tickets are available for all games. For more details, go to www.wrigleyvillerooftops.com or call 773-248-ROOF.
We'll send out happy birthday wishes to Cubs team Dr. Steven Adams. His age is mysterious.
We would need carbon dating.
Giovanni Soto leading off the Cubs' fifth. A couple of warning track shots to end the fourth. Cubs have scored one in each of the last 2 innings. A 1-0 pitch fouled back by Soto. Wandy Rodriguez from the Dominican Republic, born in Santiago. At the urging of a coach in the Dominican, he changed his identity and age. He was 19, which would be too old for scouts, so he took on the identity of 17-year-old Eni Cabreja, a friend of his. In 2002, 3 years after he signed with the Astros, he came clean because he wouldn't have been able to get a work visa in the U.S. under his friend's name. And according to a Sports Illustrated article about his odyssey, just a huge weight off his shoulders to tell the truth. So he had to live with that for 3 years before coming clean. You know, there have been a lot of stories over the years about guys' ages being incorrect and eventually being corrected.
I think I'm going to take on the identity of one of my younger friends.
Ball 4. It's a leadoff walk.
I actually played ball in the minor leagues with a guy, Len. who took on the identity of some unknown person. He said he was from Australia. Now remember, this is back in the day before the internet and when it was very hard to check players' backgrounds, but he finagled his way into a tryout with the San Francisco Giants, made the rookie ball team. I think he actually led the Pioneer League in hitting his first year and had never really played competitive baseball before. He had been a rugby player down in Australia. Told the Giants he was a switch hitting outfielder and actually had a couple of decent seasons in the minor leagues, but he was not who he said he was or the age he said he was.
Do we know why he decided not to tell the truth?
I think he just did it on a dare. You know, somebody, he was a good athlete, no question about it. Obviously, to step in and start playing competitive baseball full time, he had to be a pretty good athlete, but I think it was one of those bar bets. I bet you couldn't make a team if you went to a tryout. And he went to the tryout, made the team, and ended up being a pretty good player for a few years in the minor leagues. He was about 10 years older than he said he was, but
One and two on Baker. Xavier Nady's going to hit for Mitch Atkins.
yeah, I could never get away with that because I looked like I was 28 when I was 12.
Check down at first. And it doesn't appear Tony Randazzo thought it was necessary. So Brian Gorman will not have his opinion heard. And it's foul.
As you can see from that foul ball down into the Cubs bullpen, there's some activity down there. Looks like Justin Bird beginning to throw as we sneak up on that pitcher spot in the lineup.
Well, Phil Cuzzi, not a very popular guy in San Francisco today, and actually the Mets weren't too thrilled with him either. It was a blown call at home plate in the bottom of the ninth yesterday that cost the Giants a sweep. Looked like they had the winning run at the plate. Henry Blanco's tag was obviously late, but called the runner out, and the Mets would win it in extras as Baker strikes out. This Saturday, July 24th, the Cubs host the Cardinals at Wrigley Field. Game time 12:05. But be sure to arrive early. The first 10,000 fans will receive a Cubs car flag, compliments of Jewel. It's only the second strikeout for Rodriguez. Missed badly on a fastball. I think you can put Kosuke Fukudome and Xavier Nady, Coy Hill for that matter, in about the same boat. If you look at their recent numbers, they're pretty ugly, but sometimes it also becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You struggle, other guys are hitting better, so you don't play. The less you play, maybe the more rusty you are, and the worse you do at the plate. And it just kind of feeds off itself. Kosuke 6 for his last 50. Xavier Nady 3 for his last 36. And then you get a spot start. Well, Jeff Baker tonight, his first start in 3 weeks, and it would be natural to put a little more pressure on yourself and go, I got to go 4 for 4. I might not get another start the rest of the month.
I need to go 6 for 4.
This could be 2. Sanchez, Keppinger, Berkman, and the struggles of Nady continue. It's 8-2 Astros after 5.
chances to win the Powerball jackpot. Wednesday's jackpot is worth $37 million.
Chopper by Angel Sanchez, and it's dropped by Castro. It'll be an error on Starlin, team high 13. As Justin Bird just came on to pitch.
He just didn't get his glove down there far enough, was charging in. This is a play he makes so well, but you could see he took his eye off the ball at the very last instant to pick up his target. The ball deflected off the webbing of the glove for an error.
It's not been a particularly strong defensive game for Castro. And now Lance Berkman. That is the first error by Castro in about 2 weeks. Going inside.
We can clearly see what the Cubs pitchers are trying to do to Lance Berkman. Started with Carlos Silva at the beginning of the ball game. Even though he drew a walk, Silva was trying to pound him inside with hard sinkers and sliders, try to keep him from extending his arms. And Berg misses inside with a hard sinker. Goes right back in there again.
Berg, the third Cubs pitcher. Silva went just 1. Gave up 5 runs. Atkins went 4 and allowed 3 runs. Big swing. Dribbled it foul. 2-2. Bobby Meacham, the first base coach. Former Cub Dave Clark over at third. Lance Berkman, a career .297 hitter. Right now at just .252. She was just taking a walk, and all of a sudden the foul ball found her and dropped it in her purse. Baker flips to Castro, so the error erased as they turn to 4-6-3.
Berkman finally does get a pitch out over the plate and pulls it right to Jeff Baker at second base. A tailor-made double play ball. When a guy's swinging the bat well, and we've seen Lance Berkman swing the bat well in the past, the advance report usually is you can't pitch him any one way. You've got to mix it up. You've got to change speeds. You've got to change locations.
That one hurt. It'll be another error on Starlin, who just has been a tick off defensively all night. And that missed his glove and I think hit his leg.
Just can't seem to get into rhythm with the game right now. Ball was hit hard off the bat of Hunter Pence. A 2-hop line drive. Chose to play it to his backhand side, and I don't know if that caught leather at all. Hit him on the left leg.
And Ramirez will handle this bouncer as he throws out Carlos Lee. 2 errors by Starlin Castro. No runs, however, and it's still 8-2 Houston.
Our family gathering in the comfort of the Wrigley Field Mezzanine Suites presented by Nuveen Investments. Suites are available now for games during the season. To book your suite or for more information, visit Cubs.com/suites or call 773-404-4200.
Houston 8, the Cubs 2. As Tyler Colvin pounds it on the ground foul past first. 1 ball, 1 strike, and the Cubs leadoff man, Tyler Colvin. They have 2 rookies at the top. And the pitch. Breaking ball inside, 2-1. Well, Detroit got swept in Cleveland to start the second half, and they go home and they have to play Texas. And the Rangers lead the Tigers 6-5 in the bottom of the 8th. Detroit and Minnesota, a game and a half behind the White Sox starting play tonight. White Sox are in Seattle. After blowing that 9th inning 3-run lead at Minnesota yesterday, they lost the final 3 games of that series after winning the opener. Minnesota trailing Cleveland at Target Field in the 5th, 2-1. Long look by Rodriguez before a 3-2 pitch and a deep drive for Colvin. That will go more than halfway up the bleachers for a solo home run. It's 8-3. That's his 13th of the season.
We also have a winner in tonight's Hit the Jackpot with Powerball, Valerie Wold from Lake Villa. Congratulations. She'll win 100 chances to win the Powerball jackpot.
Second RBI tonight for Colvin.
That was a no-doubter. Fastball inside part of the plate. Nice quick swing. A lot of hands involved there, and Tyler Colvin knows where that one's headed. Way back in the bleachers in right field.
Castro bounces to Keppinger, who throws him out. Starlin Castro is a little gimpy heading back to the dugout, and I think it's a result of that hard bouncer off the bat of Hunter Pence that caught him on the side of the leg. Some wounded pride too. He's had a rough night.
Well, after you've made 2 errors defensively, unfortunately no runs scored for the Astros, but the first thing you want to do when you get in that batter's box is do something to make up for the errors, and maybe a little overly aggressive that time for Starlin. Swung at a pitch he probably didn't want. Grounded easily to second base.
Right center, Bourne can't get it. And Derek Lee has another extra base hit.
In the 4th inning leading off, Derek split the gap perfectly in left center field. This time he goes to the opposite field on a pitch that was actually down and in. Michael Bourne says, make up your mind, hit it to one gap or the other. You're killing me out here.
Ramirez with a single and a sacrifice fly. A 2-run homer, 8-5. Second homer of the inning, and the Cubs are back in it.
homer of the season for Aramis Ramirez, and this is our BMW drive of the game, the second no-doubt home run of the inning. This one comes with a teammate on board to pull the Cubs a little bit closer in this ball game. Only BMW offers ultimate service. Buy a BMW now and pay zero maintenance costs for 4 years or 50,000 miles, whichever comes first.
So they were trailing 8-0 in the third inning, and they've scored the last 5 runs. One on Marlon Byrd. So for Ramirez, his 6th homer over the last 11 games. He had 3 over his previous 47. Two and one. Three and one to Bird.
We're seeing a little overcompensation on the part of Wandy Rodriguez. He's been a strike throwing machine in the early going tonight, but a couple of tape measure home runs. Now he's trying to nibble around at the bottom of that strike zone and has fallen behind Marlon Byrd. 3-1. Great hitters count.
Wilton Lopez getting ready very quickly in the bullpen. Pop down the right field line. Long run for Hunter Pence. And he makes the catch. Had to take his eyes off the ball briefly as he got near the side wall and was able to make a nice play.
Hunter Pence takes more steps than any outfielder I've ever seen to get to the spot, but more often than not, he does get there.
Soriano has flied out twice, and he pops it up. Another long run for Pence, and it's going to drop. Throw to second in time. Lance Berkman nails Soriano, who's trying to stretch it into 2. The throw right on the money. Had to be perfect, and it was. And he got him. 8-5 after 6. Their way down the 7th, the called strike on second baseman Jeff Keppinger. Lance Berkman with a heads-up play. 3 Astros were in the vicinity as Alfonso Soriano blooped it into right. Berkman picked it up, fired it to Angel Sanchez in time to get Soriano at second for the final out after the Cubs got 3 on a couple of homers.
I talk about field awareness all the time, Len, and with the right-handed pull hitting Soriano at the plate, Keppinger was shaded up the middle. Pence was over into the gap a little bit. Berkman, the first baseman, really the closest guy to that baseball, and even though he could not make the catch, that is awareness. He knew the runner was going to be trying to go to second base and made an absolutely perfect throw to get Fonzie at second.
And a pretty big play to, at least for the time being, stop the momentum. Wide open stance for Keppinger. Very good contact guy. Doesn't strike out a whole lot. And he's worked a 3-2 count. Award-winning journalist Bill Curtis will conduct the 7th inning stretch. And ball 4, leadoff walk. Visit the official online shop of the Chicago Cubs at Cubs.com. Browse the largest selection of official gear, including the latest apparel, nostalgic memorabilia, and authentic classics for the whole family. Get your gear from the official source, the Cubs.com shop. Accept no substitutes. You know, the last thing you want to do after making a pretty big comeback to get within shouting distance is give up a bunch. Bounced foul by Johnson. A leadoff walk to Keppinger. Mentioned the Cardinals leading late, and so is Cincinnati 6-2 over the Nationals at Great American Ballpark in the bottom of the 7th. Miguel Cairo filling in for the injured Scott Rowland with a home run in that game. Johnny Gomes has also hit his 13th. High deep drive, right center, and gone. A 2-run homer for Chris Johnson. So they get 2 of them right back. And for Chris Johnson, that is his first career home run. The ball actually bounced back onto the field of play. And it's now 10-5.
I got a sinker up over the middle of the plate. Didn't try to pull it. He stayed right on it. And got just enough to get it out of here over the door out there in right center field. You can see how far that ball carried back after hitting the wall behind the basket.
So Jason Castro with his 2nd career home run earlier, and Johnson here in the 7th with his 1st. Chopper to Baker. 1 away.
And that really hurt, Len. You talked about Soriano getting thrown out at second base, kind of halting the momentum. Well, that's another roadblock to your momentum, giving up a leadoff walk and then a 2-run homer to expand the lead back to 5.
That'll be it for Wandy Rodriguez. Pedro Feliz announced as the pinch hitter.
We talked about the struggles of Lance Berkman and Carlos Lee. Pedro Feliz, another guy who has really struggled to get untracked offensively this year, comes into play tonight with a .215 batting average, only 3 home runs on the season.
And currently 0 for his last 12 as he takes a breaking ball for a strike. Hey, if you're coming out tomorrow Cubs Charities and Ryan Terrio are teaming up for a mystery ball sale here at Wrigley Field. An autographed ball, $20, and may be purchased in front of Wrigley Field at the gates. Proceeds will benefit the National Wildlife Federation in support of its Gulf Coast relief efforts. So basically, you pay for a ball, and a Cub will have signed it. 2 down in the inning. Bird can't get it, but Baker will, and Bourne is safe. So Michael Bourne with his second hit. So the mystery ball sale, again, the proceeds benefit Cubs Charities and the National Wildlife Federation. $20 per ball in support of Gulf Coast relief efforts. Great cause, so stop by, and even if you don't have a ticket to the game but are in the area, you still can get a ball. Base hit right field. Michael Bourne's going to stop at second. Veteran righty Bob Howery up in the bullpen. Right down the middle to Berkman. 1 strike. Way out in front, and he rolls it foul.
And then I started to talk about certain hitters. Talked about Lance Berkman, how he's been good over the years. Good hitters, the advance report will usually say something to the effect of, you can't pitch him one way. You can't just pound him inside. You can't just pitch him away. You've got to mix it up. You've got to change speeds, change locations. But occasionally you'll get a hitter that's slumping, and the report will say, just pound him away, or just pound him in, pound him in. I think right now the Cubs feel they can get Berkman out by staying inside, really getting in on his hands, keeping him from extending those arms. Now, if he proves he can get to that pitch, then you've got to adjust your scouting report and start to mix it up a little bit more.
One and two. Got a piece of Tony Randazzo. He seems to be all right. Still 1 and 2. Bird came in the 6th, worked around 2 errors. He gave up the 2-run homer to Chris Johnson here in the 7th.
This is another one of those situations, Len, where you'd really like to get Justin Bird through this inning. The pitcher spot is due up 3rd in the bottom half of the 7th inning. And if you make another pitching change at this point, it's either to get the last out of the inning, or you're going to be forced to make a double switch to get multiple innings out of Bob Howell.
And he does get Berkman. Time to sing the stretch with Bill Curtis.
After the ball game is award-winning journalist Bill Curtis.
Come on, everybody. We need a touchdown, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanut strikes. You're out at the old ball game. Play ball.
It's great to see Bill Curtis.
Thank you.
Cubs trail 10-5 as right-hander Wilton Lopez will be the first Astros reliever.
You know, if history is any guide, I do bring a rally. He was in the last inning, and watch for this. I have a feeling. A feeling.
That would be good. I hope it's not indigestion.
It could be. I've had that feeling way too often. So if it doesn't happen, you won't see me again. I'll be out here. Beautiful night, isn't it?
It sure is. And Soto hits it foul. One of the distinctive voices on television today, Bill Curtis.
Well, thank you very much.
Do you have people who ask you randomly to leave voicemail readings?
Yeah, that's especially for the young people. That's a big deal. But I can call operation or information, and the operator can be in South Carolina and say, "Hey, aren't you that guy on Cold Case Files?" Now, if Bangladesh did that, I'd be asking questions. Well, it's beautiful at night. This is my first night game.
Called strike 3 to get Soto. We were talking about that the other day. I think conducting the 7th inning stretch for a night game is really neat because you have the spotlight on the booth and you have about 40,000 people waiting for your cue.
It is daunting the first time you do it. You know, they had your microphone, you look out, oh, there's nothing there except 40,000 people. But what a tradition now. Well, they ought to put it all together and chase mice with DVD or something.
Well, you narrated the Wrigley Field Tour DVD, which is just fantastic, and I encourage everyone to get their hands on it if they can.
Well, the producers did a great job. You know, it's that tingly feeling, the kind that comes from The Natural, the movie with Robert Redford, and they really were able to kind of soak up the history, the tradition, the greatness that happened here, and that I'd like to see right now.
1 ball, 1 strike on Baker. Mike Fontenot's going to hit in the pitcher's spot after Baker.
Let's try one more here. Does everybody know you serve buffalo, bison down below?
Yes.
Yeah.
The bison burgers are very popular here. We've had them a few times, and they're very, very good. And
natural, the kind of thing you should serve.
Yes, and you are. It's a nice segue. You are the founder and chairman of Tallgrass Beef Company.
We're grass-fed beef and grass-finished. And the same thing that the buffalo eat. And no hormones, no antibiotics, no grain, so it's very, very healthy. And my cattle are easier to handle than the buffalo. You have to do them with a pickup truck and try not to get out. Okay.
the middle, and it'll be handled by Keppinger.
I think my record is going to go down the drain here.
We'll see if they can start a 2-out rally here. Now, you have narrated the documentary that sounds very, very good. I have not seen it, called Stalled. I would like to see it. Is it out? What?
Oh, that was a couple of years ago.
Okay,
actually.
it was. Well,
Yeah.
I'll have to get that on Netflix.
Well, thank you. It's about the end of the world and the community to the south of us. You know, we have these groups of people who just want to do things. I mean, strange people like Wrigley fans who come back night after night after night. But we're going to have Manson on Thursday night. It's the 40th anniversary of the crime. I dwell in the nether world of the cold case files.
Well, that sounds spooky. Just listen to you describe it. Yeah,
it is spooky. They have saved the courtroom, and the rest of the building is almost torn down. But they've saved the courtroom in Los Angeles, and they put history up there. Everybody appreciated it for what it was, and of course, everybody is still alive who was involved in the trial because the death penalty was declared unconstitutional back then before it was reinstated.
Vince Bugliosi, the outstanding prosecutor, became a great author. I've read almost every book he's written, just fascinating books, and most of them about trials that he worked, including Helter Skelter, which was about the Manson trial.
It was the beginning. I think that book is the #1 crime, sort of real crime, best-selling book. He's quite a guy. You know, he came out in favor of the one assassin theory on the Kennedy assassination in maybe the longest, the biggest book.
Never read that one. That's about 1,000 pages.
Yeah,
yes.
well, you can keep your door open with that. And what a great guy. But he holds up around Lake Arrowhead and just writes. And he's little notations on the side of the book here and there. You know, that's how he does it. He doesn't type it out. He writes it out longhand. Just that is worthy of an indictment.
Well, I just think all the series we've been talking about and the stories we're talking about, sometimes, you know, true life is stranger than fiction. And I think you've narrated a few stories.
Well, about 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, to round it off. Oh, my goodness. I am just having a bad day. Okay, guys.
Well, Bill, thanks for stopping by. We'll get him next time, all right?
I was bragging. Thanks so much.
Bill.
Good to see you guys.
Starts a pretty ugly line, 2 1/3 and 11 earned runs. Visit your Honda dealer, test drive a 2010 Honda CR-V. Bob Howry in to face Hunter Pence in the 8th. Thanks to Bill Curtis for dropping by. One of these years I am going to ask him to leave my voicemail greeting. And ball one from Bob Howard. I love that true crime stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's chilling, but it's very interesting.
I'll tell you, I have to say Bill Curtis made a wise career choice. He's won over 20 Emmys, a number of lifetime achievement awards for his work in journalism. He should have been a baseball play-by-play guy.
Yeah, he would have been good at it. Ramirez throws out Pence.
Wow. I've never seen that before. Bill always comes bearing gifts. He always brings something to toss down to the fans below the booth as he sings the 7th inning stretch, but I've never seen anybody try to return one of his gifts. Twice.
Well, I tossed it down to the lower grandstand, so
if they throw it all the way up here, we're going to put them in the bullpen.
That's right. A rough night for the Cubs pitching staff. Everybody's given up multiple runs to this point. One and one on Carlos Lee. Ramirez will barehand it, going to be close, and he gets him by half a step. Tonight's game is available on your SAP audio setting, provided by WRTO La Tremenda, Chicago's Spanish language sports leader, and is brought to you by Galaxy, home remodeling experts since 1984. Do great work, give a great deal. That's Galaxy. Elio Benitez, Hector Fabregas do a fine job of broadcasting the games in Spanish. And again, you'll find them on your SAP audio setting. The 1-0 on the way to Keppinger. A strike, 1-1.
And then you were talking earlier about that wide open stance that Jeff Keppinger features up there in that right-handed batter's box. But if you watch as the pitch is delivered, he ends up as square as any hitter in baseball. That left foot will end up right in line with the right foot. We've talked about this many times. It doesn't really matter how you start in that batter's box. It's a position you're in when that ball is released. And most hitters in the big leagues are in a very similar position when that pitcher lets go of the ball.
I think it's one of the great things about baseball is that not every pitcher, not every batter looks the same. In fact, they all look just a little bit different with their mechanics.
Some look a little more different than others.
I think of the funkiest batting stance I've ever seen. I'd have to go with John Walkenfuss.
Really?
He had a real closed stance with the Tigers. Can't quite put my finger on what he did, but it was funky.
Tony Batista had an unusual stance. He stood basically facing the pitcher, holding his bat straight out in front of him as if he was offering it to the pitcher until the pitcher released the ball, and then he was in a pretty standard hitting position.
I just like saying John Walkenfuss.
Yeah, that's a great name. I think current players, it would be hard to top Kevin Youkilis of the Boston Red Sox. He holds the bat up above his head with the barrel pointed towards the mound, and his hands are actually split about 6 inches on the handle of the bat once again until the ball is delivered.
How about Alex Rios? His hands way low.
And sometimes because of that stance, pitchers will pitch you a certain way. The theory with Rios is because he does carry his hands so low, he can't get on top of a high fastball, although we've seen him turn a few of those around this year.
Chris Johnson with his first career homer back in the 7th.
And of course, throughout his great career, Cal Ripken tried them all, sometimes in the same at bat. If he had a rough at bat early in the ball game, he'd come up for his second at bat looking completely different in that batter's box than he did for his first at bat.
Close, but he didn't get it. 3-2.
Larry was saying hit it to Aram.
Not Sam. Runner going on the 3-2. Punch down the line. Fair. Man, it gets all the way past Colvin, allowing Keppinger to score and Johnson to stand at third with a triple. Second career triple, and it's now 11-5. Double away from the cycle.
And just a little slashing drive down that right field line. You could see as Colvin came over from his position, the ball bounced up and hit the retaining wall there and shot over Tyler's head. He just got a little bit too close to the wall right there. Might have been looking up into the lights as he tried to play that carom off the sidewall. For whatever reason, he fanned on it, and Johnson ends up at third base.
Three-run homer for Castro. Jason Castro back in the 3rd inning. And now officially a 3-base hit. Bob Rosenberg taking his time to make the call. You tell Rosie we had written it in our books 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, try to get his attention. He won't look over here because he knows I'm going to get on him.
Another one drilled. Colvin will get this one. So Howie touched for 1, and all Astros tonight. Quarterback was born in Oak Lawn, Illinois. This is his 4th major league team. Top of the order, Colvin with 2 RBIs, one coming on his 13th homer of the year. Cubs in danger of dropping to 2-5 against Houston. They are 3-9 against last place Pittsburgh. And while we sit here and try to figure out ways the Cubs can get back into this NL Central race, they're not only trailing St. Louis and Cincinnati by a wide margin, they came into action tonight tied with Milwaukee for 3rd place. Well, the Brewers are leading 3-1 in the bottom of the 9th in Pittsburgh. John Axford is struggling, 2 on, nobody out. But if the Brewers hang on, they'll likely be a game up on the Cubs. Nice play by Berkman as he tagged the base with his glove ahead of Colvin.
And sometimes the quickest way to get to the base is to do what Lance Berkman does right here. He knows if he has to take a couple more steps, he might not beat Colvin to the bag, so he just dives for the bag like a base runner going back in on a pickoff attempt.
The other big question, I think a very pressing one for this team, and you give Carlos Silva the benefit of the doubt because of the body of work so far this season, but he's had 2 awful starts in a row. I mean, an inning and a third and then 1 tonight. So I think the first question is physically is he okay? That's number 1. And number 2, do you feel comfortable sending him back out in 5 days? If he's physically okay, I think the answer is yes. But you better have some bullpen ready just in case. This is a little baffling considering how good he had been for most of the first half.
And baffling also with the base on balls. 3 in Los Angeles in an inning and a third, and 2 more tonight in 1 inning of work, which is something he just did not do in the first half of the season. He did not beat himself with the base on balls.
Easy play for Keppinger to get Starlin Castro.
You know, occasionally, Len, and we've talked about this in the past, a sinker ball pitcher is going to have those starts where every ground ball finds a hole, and there's really not much you can do about that. You'd like to think that the ball's going to be hit close enough to your infielders that they can pick up the ground balls and get the outs at first base, but occasionally those balls will find their way through. However, that wasn't necessarily the case tonight. There were some balls hit pretty hard on a line, some hard hit fly balls, and then of course the 2 base on balls, which is probably the biggest factor for me.
I think there's one other question to ask, and only he can answer it, and that is his focus. A guy whose body language is apparent at times. We saw some frustration early on in the first inning with a couple of calls, non-strike calls. He clearly was frustrated in his last start in Los Angeles, and that might be as much an issue as anything else.
And that's something you don't expect from a veteran pitcher. I mean, I know Carlos Silva's had a number of outings throughout the course of his career where the home plate umpire, in his mind, was squeezing the zone for him a little bit. D. Lee drives the ball out toward right center. Cut off by Pence. That'll be Derek's 3rd base hit of the ball game.
Ramirez with 3 RBIs tonight, giving him 40 on the year. Left-hander Wesley Wright will be called up from AAA and make his first major league start tomorrow. And is pitched exclusively in relief so far in his major league career. Ryan Dempster will go for the Cubs. And then on Wednesday, a game you can catch on WGN Sports, Brett Myers, who's been really good this year, against left-hander Ted Lilly. 1 o'clock for the leadoff man on Wednesday afternoon. Cubs are off Thursday, and then the Cardinals come in on Friday. Well, it looks like they'll avoid Adam Wainwright and Jaime Garcia in that series. They're not going to miss Chris Carpenter, however. A pop-up, shallow right center, and Hunter Pence will end the Cub 8th. It's 11-5 Astros as we head off to the 9th. Jason Michaels came into play left in the bottom of the 8th. Will lead off the 9th against Bob Howery. 11-5 Houston. Well, it's been a terribly inconsistent season for the Cubs, who dropped back to 10 games under 500 with a loss tonight. If this score holds up against Houston and Pittsburgh, who will have combined to go 45 games under 500, the Cubs will be 5-14.
It's not to say you still can't get it done, but sure not making it easy on yourself. Playing such subpar baseball against teams that, quite honestly, the Cubs should be beating rather easily.
Baker goes out, and now plants and makes a catch. Well, you can't sit here and go, well, the Cubs could easily be 14-5, but if they were 14-5 against two second division clubs, they'd basically be in first or, a half game out. I mean, that, with the unbalanced schedule, these rivalries become even bigger. think the Reds are in first place by and large because they're 25-15 against their own division. They're 500 against everybody else. The Cubs are 500 against everybody else, and they'll be 11 under against their own division. As Gary Majeski just got called up.
I think going into this season, everybody felt that the National League Central was going to be one of the weaker divisions in baseball, and it was ripe for the taking. Unfortunately, the Cubs have dug such a hole now. It's going to take some kind of finish to this season for them to get back into contention, and it's going to take some kind of collapse for the Cardinals and the Reds, and as you mentioned, now the Milwaukee Brewers as well.
I think the unwritten story with a lot of last month comebacks in the history of baseball, teams that win 17 out of 20 or 10 out of 12 at the end of the year. The unwritten story is the team they catch usually loses 17 out of 20 or 10 out of 12 to allow you to do that. I think it's one reason why the White Sox jumped into first place, because the Twins were pretty bad for a while. And Milwaukee did win 3-1 at Pittsburgh. That's a final.
And one thing you are going to see as we move forward in the second half of the season, people who are a lot better at math than I am are going to start saying, well, if the Cubs do go 25-5 over a 30-game stretch of the season, they would still need the Reds and the Cardinals to go such and such and so in order to make it a race. When you start doing the math, that's not a good sign.
It gets rather ponderous, and if you're in that clubhouse, that you can't think about the big picture. You got to think about today.
Win a ball game today, worry about tomorrow, and certainly you can't do anything about yesterday. So just take care of business each and every day. Make it the biggest game of the season.
This will be playable for Ramirez in foul territory. 2 down. Great to have our producer back in the mix, healthy and ready to rock and roll tonight. Mark Brady, our director, Skip Ellison, our associate producer, Doug Stanton. Looked like he got some sun during the break.
Looked like he visited the sun during the break.
Yes. Looks like the Astros jersey, but feeling good after a long All-Star break, and great to have him back with us. Paula Skroba, our stage manager in the booth. Great work by our entire WGN Sports crew on the U. Big swing by Sanchez. 0-2 the count. Every Cub pitcher has given up at least one tonight. Good game in Detroit. 6-6 Rangers and Tigers in the bottom of the 11th. Tampa Bay beat Baltimore 8-1 the final. Wade Davis beat Chris Tillman. It's been bad in Baltimore. How about 12,792 at Camden Yards? As they dropped to 29-63. Cardinals did beat the Phillies 8-4. for their 6th straight win. Reds 7, Washington 2, a final. Johnny Cueto got his 9th win. Marlins got 2 in the bottom of the 9th to beat the Rockies 9-8. Deep to left, Soriano back on. It's going to be over his head. And Sanchez with 3 hits tonight. Donnie Murphy with a pinch hit, game-ending 2-run homer for the Marlins in their win. Ubaldo Jimenez gave up 6 runs in 5 1/3 and got a no decision.
You wonder if some of the deep outings by Jimenez, Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, some of those guys that were eating up innings, throwing complete games and no hitters early in the season might be starting to take its toll here as we begin the second half of the season.
I think Cliff Lee's made 2 starts and doesn't have a win yet for Texas. Well, I don't think he was that bad in his last start. I would say 9 innings, 2 runs as he took the loss. Man, he's gone 8 or 9 innings in 6 straight starts. The thing about it, though, Bob, the most pitches he's thrown during that stretch is 115. He has not hit 120 all year. Ball 4 to extend the inning. Here comes Larry. Nobody in the bullpen. You need Howery to get through this 9th inning.
Well, normally you wouldn't be overly concerned with a couple of base runners with 2 outs in the inning, but the Astros have scored 46% of their runs with 2 outs. That leads the major leagues. So even with 2 quick outs in the inning, a couple of base runners, you've got to bear down here and get that 3rd out.
It'll be Hunter Pence with 2 on and 2 down. Dodgers back home after a 4-game sweep at the hands of the Cardinals, and they're hosting their arch rival, the Giants. No score in the 3rd. Madison Bumgarner and James McDonald on the mound. Hey, good for Bud Black. Got a 3-year contract extension, one of our favorites. Done a great job as the manager of the San Diego Padres, who lead the West by 4.5. They start a series tomorrow night against the Atlanta Braves, the 2 teams with the best record in the National League. Knee-high strike.
And with the way the game has seemingly evolved over the last couple of seasons, the Padres going old school with pitching and defense. #1 in the National League in ERA, #1 in fielding percentage. And it's no surprise Bud Black was a former pitcher.
Two on Pence, who's choking up on the bat. Little flinch by Tony Randazzo, but it's 3-2.
It doesn't make it right, but Randazzo has been very consistent. He has not gone off that corner of the plate, whether it's an inside pitch to a left-handed hitter or a pitch away to a right-handed hitter. You've got to throw it over the dish.
He did that time to get out of the inning. Last chance for the Cubs in the bottom of the ninth, trailing by 6. And right-hander Gary Majeski had his contract selected from AAA Round Rock after yesterday's game against the Pirates. Will make his 230th career Major League appearance. Let's look in on the Budweiser play of the game. The 3-run homer by number 8 hitter Jason Castro. That made it 8-0 in the third inning. Bob, the Astros have gotten 6 RBIs combined from their 7 and 8 hitters tonight. Budweiser with full flavor and a crisp finish. It's what we do.
And 2 more hits from the pitcher spot. Wandy Rodriguez with a single and a double in this ball game. The bottom of the order doing a lot of damage tonight.
Marlon Byrd lifts to deep right. Hunter Pence back on it with room. Makes the catch. Second time Byrd has flied to the track. Alfonso's 1 for 3. Thrown out to end the 6th, trying to stretch a single into a double on a bloop hit to right. Majeski's from Houston. Went to St. Pius X High School before being taken by the White Sox in the 1998 draft. This is his Astros debut. He's been an Expo/National, a Cincinnati Red, and now a Houston Astro, pitching for his hometown team. Well, he looks like a character out of Deadwood right now.
Smile when you say that.
Bobbled, and the recovery by Sanchez. What a recovery. That ball was rolling around, and he was able to stay calm and make the play.
It looked like a routine 6-3 off the bat. Ball hit the heel of the glove. Pretty slick backhand there as that ball bounced to his left and still got it across to Berkman in time to get Soriano.
Ball one to Soto. Driven to deep right center as he finds the gap, and it'll one-hop the wall. So Gio stays hot. His second hit tonight.
He waited back on that ball nicely, let it get deep into the hitting zone. It was a breaking ball that just kind of spun up there, belt high on the outer part of the plate, drove it to that gap in right center field. Well, he's seeing the ball extremely well right now.
Swing and a miss by Baker. Kosuke Fukudome on deck. Majeski now set at the belt. The 0-2 on the way in the dirt. Offense really not a problem tonight. Cubs with 5. But the light hitting Houston Astros with 11 runs on 17 hits. And again, they are not a home run hitting team. They have a couple tonight. They came in with a major league low 59 on the year.
Now, not only are they not a home run hitting team, they don't score many runs, period. Only the Pittsburgh Pirates have scored fewer runs this season than the Houston Astros.
Right back to Majeski, who snags it for the final out. And the Astros take the opener 11-5 and have now taken 5 of the first 7 in this season series. We'll have more from Wrigley in a moment.